You are born in a pitch black, cramped burrow. And to be honest, your mother didn't even dig it. She simply borrowed it from another animal after kicking them out. Welcome to the life of a honey badger. Everything begins by being a nuisance to someone else. The first thing you hear is yourself, a weak, high-pitched sound devoid of anything even remotely intimidating. If anyone heard it, they wouldn't think, oh, there's a future predator. They'd think, what's that squeaking in the corner? But don't worry, your prestige will come later. Plenty of other things will come first, mostly pain. At the moment, you are blind, nearly hairless, and utterly useless. You have no idea what's around you, no clue how dangerous the world outside is, and you certainly don't know that you will eventually become one of the most obnoxious creatures on this savanna. All you know is, if you're hungry, you cry. If you're cold, you huddle against your mother. And your mother? She has no time for tender moments. She's busy keeping everything outside from getting in here. Things that are bigger than her, faster than her, and even hungrier than you. You can't see her snarling or bristling her fur, ready to lunge at anything that dares draw near. But if you could see it, you might begin to understand. This is not going to be an easy life. In those early days, life is fairly simple. Eat, sleep, and occasionally crawl around and accidentally bite your mother's tail. You think it's a grand idea. Your mother does not. But she doesn't correct you gently either, because in this world, no one teaches you how to be soft. For now, you are safe, warm, protected, but don't get used to it for too long. In just a few months, you'll step outside and realize that everything out there wants to see just how tough you really are. You start heading out with your mother while you're still too young to understand what's going on. There are no lectures, no step-by-step instructions. Your mother isn't the stand here, do it like this type. She just does and expects you to figure it out. If you don't catch on fast enough, you'll learn a different way, the painful way. The first lesson arrives quickly, and it buzzes. Mother leads you to a beehive. Not the kind you admire from a distance and leave alone. She charges in, tearing the hive apart as if they owe her money. Hundreds of bees swarm out, thick in the air. That buzzing becomes a loathsome sound you won't forget for a long time. You stand back, hesitating, not because you're being cautious, but because you're terrified. The swarm looks incredibly unpleasant, and they're proving it by stinging your mother's face, her paws, every inch of her they can reach. But she doesn't stop. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't back down. She just keeps eating as if it's the most normal thing in the world. Then she looks at you. She says nothing, just a low grunt, enough for you to understand. Your turn. You step forward slowly. The closer you get, the louder the buzzing becomes. You reach out a paw, touch the hive, and immediately regret every decision that led you to this moment. A bee stings you right on the nose. You yelp, recoil, trip over yourself, and roll on the ground as if the entire world just betrayed you. Your mother doesn't help. She doesn't even look. She keeps eating, and that right there is the lesson. You try again, a little faster this time. You still get stung, it still hurts, but you begin to realize there is something inside worth enduring for. Honey, larvae, a source of energy you can't afford to pass up just because of a few stings. Over time, you stop overreacting. The bees still sting, but you don't run away immediately anymore. You stay longer, you take more, and most importantly, you begin to understand the first rule of your life. Pain isn't the problem. Missing a meal is the problem. From then on, everything revolves around that principle. Nothing is easy. There is only worth it or not worth it. And you are learning the hardest way possible that in this world, if you want to eat, you have to be willing to take a hit. By about 6 months old, you start getting more space. It sounds positive, but in reality, it just means your mother no longer wants to interfere in the mess you're about to make. She's still nearby, still watching, but if you do something stupid, and you will, that's your problem. Then, one day, she's gone. No goodbyes, no looking back, not a hint of hesitation. It's just you standing in the middle of the savannah, realizing for the first time that from now on, every mistake has real consequences. The first few days alone are a perfect blend of luck and disaster.
You know the basics of finding food, so you don't starve immediately. Eggs, insects, a few slow-moving small animals, enough to stay alive, but actual hunting? That's a different story. You spot a scorpion, it's small, looks slow, and most importantly, looks easy to eat. You don't think twice, you lunge. Mistake number 1. The scorpion dodges effortlessly, whips around, and stings you right in the paw. The pain spreads instantly, sending you reeling and rolling in the sand as if you've just made the worst decision of your life. The scorpion? It's long gone. You don't die, but it hurts enough for you to realize small doesn't mean weak. The second attempt is slightly less terrible. A lizard is basking on a rock. You stay low, creep closer, trying to mimic what you've seen before. Wait, watch, calculate. Then you strike. It bolts, fast, but this time, so do you. You pounce and catch its tail. The lizard struggles, you thrash harder. It's an absolute mess, but in the end, you win. It's not pretty, it's not graceful, but it's enough. Your first self-earned meal. For a few minutes, you feel invincible. Then you meet a porcupine. Mistake number 2. You don't understand what it is. You just see a slow creature and think, easy meal. You charge in like always and get a face full of quills in return. This isn't a quick sting like the scorpion. This stays, it throbs, it lingers. You limp for days afterward. Every step a reminder that there are some battles just not worth starting. Slowly, you change. You're still reckless, but no longer blind. You start picking your targets, things worth the effort, things that won't make you pay too high a price. You learn to watch longer, strike faster, and most importantly, know when to walk away. You'll still make mistakes, plenty of them, but now every mistake isn't just pain, it's a lesson, and you are getting better in the only way this world allows.
By the time you're about 2 years old, you are no longer that creature rolling around over a bee sting. You're still not big. In fact, compared to most predators out there, you're downright tiny. But there's one thing you have in spades, and others are starting to realize it in the most unpleasant way possible. You don't know fear. Not because you're immortal, but because you've grown accustomed to the fact that pain doesn't particularly mean anything. Now you walk alone. No one is watching over you. No one is clearing the path. But then again, no one wants to cross you if they have any other choice. One day you encounter a cobra. It rears up, spreads its hood, and emits a warning hiss so clear that even a fool would understand. Stay back. You move closer. The strike is lightning fast. The venom pumps straight into your system. Within minutes, you begin to slow down. Then you collapse. Is it over? Not exactly. A few hours later, you wake up under the shade of a tree as if you've just overslept a midday nap. Your body processes the rest. The snake, it's still there. And this time, you go back to finish your interrupted meal. For most creatures, venom is the end of the sentence. For you, it's just an inconvenience. But snakes aren't your biggest problem. On another day, you stumble upon a leopard on a kill. A fresh impala, a perfect meal if you're the leopard, and a terrible idea if you're anyone else. You look at the leopard, then you look at the carcass, and you decide, today, that belongs to you. The leopard growls, a low and dangerous sound. It doesn't want to share. Usually, that's the cue for everything else to leave. You are not everything else. You take a step forward. It lunges, so do you, not to defend, but straight at its face. For a brief moment, both of you are locked in a game that no one really wants to play. You are smaller, weaker, but you don't stop. You don't flinch. You have zero intention of retreating. The leopard hesitates, not because it's afraid of you, but because it's doing the math. Is this worth it? And the answer is no. It backs off. Then it leaves, abandoning its meal. You drag the carcass away as if that was always the plan, as if you didn't just bet your life on an incredibly bad decision. But that is how you survive, not by winning every fight, but by making every fight not worth continuing. And it's not just the big players. Sometimes it's a pack of wild dogs catching the scent of your food. Sometimes it's a jackal thinking it can sneak a bite while you're not looking. You don't discriminate. Big or small, if they cross your line, you're going to make them reconsider. You aren't the strongest, you aren't the fastest, but you are the most obnoxious thing anyone could possibly run into on a bad day. And on this savanna, sometimes that's enough to be the winner.
By the time you hit 5 years old, you've mastered the mechanics of this life. You no longer lunge at everything that moves. You no longer have anything to prove to anyone. You still hunt, you still eat, you still live, but you're more efficient now. You know how to wait. A fat rabbit passing by? Worth it. A sluggish bird? Worth it. An unguarded snake nest? Definitely worth it. You don't need to risk your life every single day anymore. You've already paid that price in full. Most of the time you eat, head back to the burrow and sleep. A simple life. No glamour, no drama, just stability. And for a honey badger, stability is a rare thing. But time doesn't stand still. By year 8 or 9, you start to feel it. You're still strong, but no longer as fast as you used to be. Old wounds don't vanish quickly anymore. A fight that you would have forgotten in hours now leaves you aching for days. You begin to avoid unnecessary confrontations, not because you're afraid, it's just not worth it. One day, a young honey badger wanders into your territory. You recognize it instantly. The way it moves, the way it looks at everything, as if it owns the entire world. You were like that once. It doesn't leave, and so the fight happens. It's not fast, it's not clean, and it's not pleasant. You still win. Through experience, through a stubbornness that the youngster hasn't acquired yet, the juvenile finally retreats, carrying a few scars and a lesson. You stand there, watching it go, and you understand, next time, the outcome might be different. Finally, the end comes the way your life has always functioned, without warning. One day you find a patch of shade beneath a tree. You lie down. There are no enemies, no battles, no roaring, only silence. You don't get back up. There are no witnesses, no grand finale. The savannah continues as if you never existed. Somewhere else, a cub is just being born. Maybe it's biting its mother's tail by mistake. Maybe it's about to be stung by a bee for the very first time. The cycle continues. You leave no legacy. You don't need to. For the duration of your existence, you lived exactly as a honey badger should. Stubborn, defiant, and unstoppable. And that is enough.